It was 5 years ago this June that a Sussex County woman was raped and murdered. For the family of Nicole Bennett, it has been a 5-year-long nightmare, not only because of the horrific crime, but because they say the system let them down, and they continue to fight for justice for Nicole. Many pictures and many memories from happier times of the Bennett family.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was really good with kids, and her smile could light up a room.
But sadly, that smile of Nicole Bennett is missing from family gatherings today.
She was a kind-hearted, loving, caring,
And 35-year-old Nicole Bennett died way too young. She was raped and murdered 5 years ago. We'll get to the crime and punishment in a minute, but first, more about the family she left behind. Her husband, Kevin, and their 3 daughters. Lauren, who's now 16, Emily, who's about to turn 13, and Allie, who's just 6 years old. Kevin's parents, Bob and Mary Bennett, live close by and play a key supporting role. Nicole's parents live in Nebraska, but a lot of people have stepped in and rallied around this family.
It makes a huge difference, family being here, friends, and the whole community has been great. Having people like the church bringing meals over and people, calling to see if they can help out. It does a lot. It makes a difference,
But day in and day out, Kevin is a busy man.
Laundry, dishes, it's been, I've had to learn a lot in these past few years, cook,
Are you a good cook? I forgot to ask the girls if you're a good cook.
I'm not going to lie, no. I'm an okay cook. Still learning.
Still learning and coping, not only with Nicole's horrific murder, but with a criminal justice system that the Bennetts say let them down.
Punishment certainly didn't fit the crime, so just very disappointed.
This is the man who earlier this month in a plea deal admitted to raping and murdering Nicole Bennett. Matthew Burton was a convicted sex offender working as a maintenance worker at the church where Nicole was a daycare provider. Her body was found in Worcester County. The case dragged on for years. There were legal battles over which state had jurisdiction. In the end, it became Delaware's case. There were also big problems with the evidence. Much of it was ruled inadmissible because of what the Attorney General's office called fatal flaws with the search warrants in both Maryland and Delaware. That evidence included a mask as well as rope, gloves, and hair samples, all found in Burton's truck, and all of it ruled inadmissible. In the meantime, the Bennett family settled a lawsuit with Bayshore Community Church that it was negligent in hiring and supervising a convicted sex offender, but they still wanted justice for Nicole. Then, in early April, Kevin got a phone call. A plea deal had been struck, and the next day, Burton would plead guilty to second-degree rape and murder and sentenced to a total of 30 years. With time already served, Matthew Burton will be out of prison in 25 years for rape and murder.
Well, when they called us to let us know the day before it happened, I told them, I think my exact words were, this is unacceptable. It was pretty much out of our hands, though. He basically was calling to tell us that it's going to happen tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The plea will happen. We didn't really have a say in it.
There was no time for Nicole's parents in Nebraska to make it to Georgetown the next day. We asked the Delaware Attorney General's office why it was so rushed and why the Bennetts were given no say in the decision. The AG's office says, quote, "The Bennett family was informed of the contemplated resolution in this case and were kept informed of the evidentiary difficulties and issues throughout the case. It is regrettable the time frame did not allow the family to be present for sentencing, but the timing was part of guaranteeing that the defendant would plead guilty and thus be held accountable."
I'm thankful that our faith is in God and not in our system, because our system's let us down.
To which the Attorney General's office responds, quote, "A group of the state's most senior prosecutors carefully reviewed all the evidence in this case and determined that if the case went to trial, there was a very good chance that Matthew Burton would be acquitted by a jury and walk out of court a free man."
Ironically, Steve, when I was in the courtroom and they had him put his hand on the Bible, they had him swear before God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But the same God and the same Bible says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It says if you take a life, you lose your life. We weren't so much pushing for the death penalties we were for him to never get out of jail.
For now, there's hope that federal prosecutors will get involved and try the case because it crossed state lines. The Bennett family says they're still fighting for justice while hanging on to those favorite moments and memories of Nicole.
When we used to play like softball right outside the condo and where we used to live in the peninsula.
I don't have a favorite. They're all so good. Just every moment I got to spend with her.
I don't even know. I mean, if you had to pick one thing, it'd be hard, you know. I miss everything about her smile.
And so the final hope for justice rests with federal prosecutors if they will agree to try the case. We will keep you posted on those developments. In the meantime, tonight's Web Extra includes a video statement by 16-year-old Lauren Bennett about the crime and the sentence. And we also have answers from the Delaware Attorney General's office to several of our questions about that case. You'll find that on the Web Extra page of WBOC.com.